So today on stream, I went ahead and finished Castlevania 1 on the Castlevania collection on my Nintendo Switch, and I had a blast. I love the game. It's not my favorite NES game by all means. I think it's a little bit clunky. I think it's slow. I think it's a bit outdated. I don't think it holds up nearly as well as classics like Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, uh, and other games, right? I do think it's a bit outdated, but it is something that I still really enjoy and will probably come back to again. It is a game that is perfectly enjoyable, perfectly memorable, fun, iconic, and with its own unique aesthetic and gameplay. It's amazing how in that short time span in the 80s, right, from like 80 to 80. 85 to 88, I would say, like all these classic 89 probably is probably safer to say, all these big video game companies established all these iconic brands in such a short time frame. You have like the Mega Mans, the Zeldas, the Marios, the Metroids, the Kid Icaruses, the Final Fantasies, like all this stuff, Dragon Quest. Like you have all this stuff that just is just spectacular and still holds up today. It just goes to show you just how much better games were back then. It's amazing how you can it feels like just play any game, right? Like any game from like 10, 20, 15, 20, 25 years ago that people still remember, and it's better than the crap that comes out today. Castlevania, in spite of some minor misgivings I have with it, again, the controls, the slowness of it, I do wish you could take more than four hits uh, against Dracula and the final boss. It was a bit too difficult, a bit too tedious for my liking. Difficult is not the word for it, because, um, but when I finished the game, like when I got around that, when I got through these ridiculous levels, when I got through like the castle, when I climbed those stairs and fought Dracula over and over and over and over and over again, when I did it over and over and over again until I beat it, and then I finally did, I was incredibly satisfied. Like playing these kind of games, like acquiring these kind of skills, like going through such an occasion, such an event, overcoming such a legitimate challenge, right? Probably not the hardest boss fight ever, but overcoming something like that, it was fun. Like it was a fun game to play, and I would much rather, go back to something like this than be excited about something like The Last of Us Part Two or Final Fantasy VII R. Like this is what a video game should be, in which the game gives you a game to play and you try to get through it. Like it's perfectly enjoyable, very memorable, very iconic, and I'm still to this day a pretty big fan of it. And I would it's kind of a shame because Konami being what it is, we're not ever going to get a Castlevania reboot, right? I was actually looking at the booklet for Castlevania, and it's bad. The state of the franchise is bad when the entire thing seems more dedicated, more interested in the Castlevania Netflix series rather than these iconic video games. They interviewed the motherfucker who directs the Castlevania Netflix series. I actually was just like, I wish I looked at that on stream because I was so pissed reading that. Like this guy just talking about like his Netflix series. I don't care about the Netflix series, and I do think that's going to be a big blemish on the series as a whole. And that like the future games, if they do get made, are going to be more influenced by this terrible cartoon rather than the actual games. They're not going to like come up with something like Symphony of the Night ever again. They're never going to like radically improve on the formula. They're never going to like. There's not going to be another Igavania. Like he's working on Bloodstain now. Is Bloodstain 2 a thing? I should Google that. But oof, oof. I am just. I feel as if Castlevania. is still a worthy successor. Like, still a very viable Nintendo franchise. I would love love to see more of these games be ported to Nintendo Switch, especially like Order of Ecclesia, which I still have not played. I've played most of the games in this collection. I need to finish like Castlevania 2, 3, and Bloodlines, and some of the Game Boy games. I'm really enjoying the collection, and I highly, highly, highly encourage you to check it out because Castlevania is well worth your time and money.